Hello, this is Nick, and welcome to Talking Politics. I believe this is my 12th episode, and this is a little bit of I'll say a special, but I'm gonna give basically my opinion on what I think about this coronavirus, and especially the vaccination process. A lot of people, if you've been listening to any of my podcasts, pretty much understand that I have not received this flu shot, this coronavirus shot, and I don't plan on getting it. I don't want it. And so this episode is basically me talking about the coronavirus shot and why I don't want it. A lot of people, they don't understand, and this is my explanation of it. Okay, a lot of people, they think, well, I just don't know enough, or I'm not informed, or maybe they need to talk to me more about it. I don't know. But this is my thing. Okay, first of all, I've been teaching for 20 years. I know in a few other podcasts I talked about the military, which I've done for 13 years. How did that happen? Well, the first 3 years, I started in 95. I was active duty reservist in the Navy, where I did 3 years active duty. Then the rest of that, I was in the reserves. In 98, 99, I started teaching. And one thing that all teachers, or most teachers, will know is that a classroom is basically a pastry dish for germs. It's a magnet. The germs, they grow and they just spread like wildfire in the classroom. A lot of parents who have kids pretty much kind of understand that usually when they get sick, it's from the kids. Usually it seems like the kids are sharing it with the adults. Now, why is that? There's a number of reasons. First of all, when you have a small classroom and you put like about 30 kids, 32 kids inside of this small classroom, however there may be, for 7 hours, minus lunch, minus recess, I teach fourth grade, minus, let's say, library or whatever, you know, these kids are jam-packed in a classroom for a long period of time. And the germs get everywhere. They get on the doorknobs, they get on pencils, they get on the desks, kids talking to each other, all this kind of stuff. It's a pastry dish. Now, and some of the schools, they got a late start on going back to school. My schools, I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, and our schools, they started up, normally school starts up in August. We started up in September. So we were in running for many months. And every time I would watch the news, they would talk about different places across the United States that haven't started up yet, and they're worried about starting. And I'm like, hey, why don't you ask us how we're doing it? We're fine. I'm still alive. I never got sick. Now, which brings me to another point. So, and a lot of people are talking about how people who um, haven't had the shot don't believe in the science. Well, I don't know about that. You see, being in the classroom, you got to understand the science, and you got to get rid of the politics in that science. In the classroom, our day is typical. This is our typical day. when the kids are lined up outside, see, every time they come into the classroom, they get hand sanitizer. Okay. So, first thing in the morning, when they're lined up and they're coming inside the classroom, we put hand sanitizer on their hands. They come in, and our school, I don't know, not all schools are the same. Our school serves breakfast in the morning. So the kids, they come in, they sit down. I usually have the breakfast already ready for them. They come back, they get their breakfast. Teachers serve the breakfast. Kids can choose, they can walk up. We have a basket. It's got different stuff in there for breakfast, whether it be fruit, whether it be a sandwich, whether it be milk, whether it be juice, that kind of stuff. So they choose their stuff there. They go back to their desk and they eat. Once they're done eating, once the class is done eating, we spray down the desk. First of all, I like this process. Didn't do it in the past, but we do it now. We spray down the desk and we get it all nice and clean. Then more hand sanitizer for their hands. And then we get started on our work. In the past, pre-COVID, we didn't clean our hands like this in the morning. Sometimes, when the kids had messy hands, they would run over to the sink and wash their hands. Now, our general rule is the teachers turn the sink on, at least in my classroom. I turn the sink on. The kids reach under, they wash their hands, they use soap and water naturally. And that's the way that works. They go back to their desk. If we go to library, if we have music, if we have this, that, and the other, an assembly or whatever, every time they leave that classroom and enter the classroom, we put hand sanitizer on. Next, lunch. When the kids go to lunch, once again, hand sanitizer, they're walking out the door. When they come in from lunch recess or whatever, once again, hand sanitizer, they come back into the classroom. On third recess, once again, they leave, hand sanitizer, they come back in, hand sanitizer, every time they come in and out of that classroom. Okay. When the kids are inside the classroom, the kids are basically taught, keep your hands off your face, that kind of stuff. It's kind of hard to social distance in the classroom. So the way we handle that is, let's say one kid across the classroom should not be hanging out with another kid across the classroom from them. You can go ahead and basically hang out from the kid next to you. But we try, and this is kind of ridiculous, but that's just the way it is. The persons that are around you, it's okay to go ahead and socialize. So if we do a group thing, let's say reading or groups or whatever, the kids are with the kids that are next to them. Basically, another word for is table partners. Okay, so now that process is over. Like I said, library and all that kind of stuff. So at the end of the day, when they go home, we have the kids clean the desk again. And hand sanitizer. The kids have computers. They're basically called Chromebooks. We wipe them down as well. Kids leave. Now, what I do is I get another rag and I clean all the desk all over again. Even though kids cleaned it before, I clean it again. Plus the chairs, plus the chalkboard, plus all the other things, that touchable surface inside that room, I clean it again. Now, plus the equipment. In the classroom, we have basketballs, we have this, that, and the other, all these things. We spray them down too. After every recess, we spray them. During recess, the kids have assigned areas that they go to. Basically, the areas are A, B, C, and D areas. A, being in the playground, B, being out in the field, C, let's say the monkey bars, that kind of stuff, playground equipment, D, basketball area, that kind of stuff. And every day they rotate to a different area. So today they might be basketball, tomorrow they're in the B area, and next day and so forth. Okay. And those areas are cleaned as well. Now, let me get to the point of this. Every year, for the last 20 years that I've been teaching, I'm always getting sick. Usually it's from the students. Not sick of the students, but I catch my germs from the kids. I usually get sick about 5 or 6 times a year. Plus, I have kids in the classroom that are sick on a regular basis as well. Sometimes we'll have 5, 6, 7 kids coughing, sneezing, that kind of stuff in the classroom, 1 or 2. Lots of times parents send their kids to school and they're sick. Maybe the parents don't believe they're sick, or maybe the parents just don't have babysitters at home or a place to send their kids when the parents are at work or whatever. Okay. Well, this last year, I did not get sick one time. I hardly had any kids that were sick. This last year, I remember maybe one person got sick for a week or two. She was coughing. Other than that, occasionally you'll get a kid or two. My stomach hurts, this kind of stuff. Other than that, nobody was sick. It was amazing that nobody was sick. One day I was talking to the principal who stopped by and we were just chatting for a little bit. And we were just so amazed. And all over the school district, hardly anybody was sick that often. Not because we're getting any kind of special shots. Well, I didn't make mention at the beginning or any time here, but we're also wearing a mask as well. The face mask stays on at all times. And in the morning, I don't say it's kind of weird because that's when they're eating their breakfast, and naturally you take off your face mask, right? The kids are eating their breakfast. But we keep the mask on. Sometimes the kids will take it off. You got to remind them, hey, put your mask on, that kind of stuff. But usually the kids get pretty decent at that. They get pretty good at that. A lot of parents, they send their kids to school with hand sanitizer. So they got their own. Sometimes of them they smell nice. The hand sanitizer I have is provided by the school. We get loads of them. Get a lot of them. We spray down the desk. We spray it down with special spray. It's got alcohol in it. But anyways, so yes, I do believe in the science. I've seen it work firsthand. Amazing how it worked. I loved it. I liked it. Okay. And I do believe, and of course I have not had a shot this entire time either, that I didn't get sick. But I think if a lot of us had this kind of a practice. Oh, I was getting back to that principal who stopped by. And we was talking about how all over the school district, and probably many more other places, kids getting sick. General sickness. Sick days were down on teachers because the germs are not being spread. Sick days were down on the children because the germs were not being spread. So yeah, it works out really well. Now, what was I getting at before I interrupted myself to get back to where I was? But yes, it works out really well. And one of the comments I made to that principal was like, God, maybe we should do this forever. It works so well. Now, when it comes to this vaccine, I am thinking, if this works so well in the classroom and everywhere else, that's all we basically got to do. You don't need no shot in order to get rid of this virus. We just need to wash our hands and be a little bit more, how would I say? Keep our guard up for germs. And we could definitely do that. And not only was the COVID-19 down, naturally, but also all other viruses that are normally spread in the classroom. That was all down too, where hardly was getting any kind of sickness, period, whatsoever. And so that was what's really nice about it. Now, I'm going to get to another part. Now, I'm a Catholic, okay? In the Catholic religion, in Revelations, it talks about the mark of the beast. In the end of times, the people will be forced to get the mark of the beast. And to me, this is the mark of the beast. This shot that the government is trying to force us to get. In a second, I am going to play an audio tape of me doing this. I've already read the mark of the beast, and I'm going to read that to you. And most religious people, they will understand what I'm talking about here. Here we go. Chapter 13, The First Beast. Then I saw a beast come out of the sea with 10 horns and 7 heads. On its horns were 10 diadems, and on its head blasphemous name. The beast I saw like a leopard, but it had feet like a bear's, and its mouth was like the mouth of a lion. To it the dragon gave its own power and throne, along with great authority. I saw one of its heads seem to have been mortally wounded, but this mortal wound was healed. Fascinated, the whole world followed after the beast. They worshipped the dragon because it gave its authority to the beast. They also worshipped the beast and said, "Who can compare with the beast? Who can fight against it?" The beast was given a mouth uttering proud boast and blasphemous, and it was given authority to act for 42 months. It opens its mouth to utter blasphemous against God, blaspheming his name and his dwelling, and those who dwell in heaven. It was also allowed to wage war against the holy ones and conquer them. It was granted authority over every tribe, people, tongue, and nation. All the inhabitants of the earth will worship it, and all whose names were not written from the foundation of the world in the book of life, which belongs to the Lamb who was slain. The second beast. I saw another beast come up from the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, but spoke like a dragon. It wielded all the authority of the first beast in its sight, and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose mortal wound had been healed. It performed great signs, even making the fire come down from heaven to the earth in the sight of everyone. It deceived the inhabitants of the earth with the sign it was allowed to perform in the sight of the first beast, telling them to make an image before the beast who had been wounded by the sword and revived. It was then permitted to breathe life into the beast's image, so that the beast's image could speak, and have everyone who did not worship it put to death. It forced all the people, small, great, rich and poor, free, slave, to be given a stamped image on their right hands or their foreheads, so that no one could buy or sell except one who had the stamped image of the beast's name and the number that stood for its name. Wisdom is needed here. One who understands can calculate the number of the beast, for it's the number that stands for the person. His number is 666.